morning, children. As usual, your Nafisa teacher is back with a new session in Bal Bharti. Today, children, we are going to do a happy prince early in the morning, right? With all best wishes. Children, I have divided this chapter into 3 parts, as you can understand well. It's a story of a beautiful prince who died at a very young age, and उसके पेरेंट्स ने उसका स्टैचू बना के रखा in his remembrance. And it is a story of a swallow. And in this, how this swallow and prince helped his people in the city who are in a miserable state, unhappy. So this story will teach you a lesson that is of love and compassion. But before that, we have to do warming up exercise, children. Now, in this warming up exercise, you have to do is what? There are different types of short stories. Use dictionary, internet. Find out what each of the following refers to. That means you have to find the meaning of it. Fable, anecdote, parable, tragedy, humorous story, detective stories, might. Question number 2. Have you heard of a bird that fly from one part of the world to another in small or large flocks? They are called migratory birds. Discuss and write 2. What will you write? 2 reasons why they migrate and return. Question number 3 is children omitted. You don't have to do. Let's get started, children. There are different types of short stories. Use dictionary, internet, and find out what each of the following means. That is refers to a fable. A fable is a short story with moral. Moral means a lesson from which you learn. Often with animals or inanimate character. Inanimate, that is, mountains seem to be talking, rivers seem to be talking, and especially the tales of Aesop's are very, very famous, in which he personifies the non-living things. Anecdote, a short account of a particular incident. Short account of a particular incident means you write it short about any happening or event, especially of any interesting nature. कोई भी चीज़ का शॉर्ट में आप अकाउंट लिख दो in a very interesting nature, in a very interesting way. Anecdote, that is about nature. Fairy tale, a traditional story written for children that involves imaginary creatures and magic. Parable, a simple short story told in order to make moral or religious point. यहाँ पे you learn moral ideas, moral point regarding the religion. It's a short story which tells you about what is good in the particular religion, what should we do, what should we not do. Tragedy, a dramatic composition in a verse dealing with serious theme and unhappy ending. Very serious. Humorous, a story which is funny and that makes you laugh. Detective story, a story whose plot revolves around investigation and crimes. A story in which there is the detectives solve the crimes, and that is written in a story form. Might, an ancient traditional story concerning early history of group of people or a natural events. That I can tell you about Lord Krishna and Rama. They are considered to be the god of Hindus, but they were humans like us, and the events that happened during that time, they are called mythological stories of god and goddesses. Have you heard of a bird that fly from one part of the world to another in small or large flocks? They are called migratory birds, children. Discuss and write down two reasons why they migrate and return. Now, has to be the open discussion, but I have got it for you. Birds migrate due to harsh climate. When it is freezing cold, they move to the warmer region, means they go to a warmer country. They migrate, second, they also migrate in search of food and for purpose of nesting. Now, children, this story, Happy Prince, is written by Oscar Wilde. So, before we read the story, we must know who the writer is, right? Little brief introduction. Oscar Fingal O'Flaherty Wills Wilde, his full name, was born in 1854 and passed away in 1900. He was an Irish writer, poet, and a playwright. The importance of being earnest is one of the most popular plays. He also wrote many short stories like Selfish Giant, Happy Prince, The Model Millionaire, and so on. The present text has been dramatized from his famous story Happy Prince. Means जो अभी present हम जो story करेंगे, it has been dramatized from his famous story Happy Prince. Now, children, let's get started. Now, today we are going to do at least 2.5 page. That is page number 46, 47, and half of 48. Let's get started, children. 2.5 The Happy Prince. The statue of Happy Prince stood high above the city. It was covered with gold. Now, children, I tell you, this prince had died at a very young age. His parents, that is king and queen, they erected his statue in his remembrance in the center of the city. It was made up of gold, right? Its eyes were bright blue jewels. Uski aankhein blue. That means you can say it could be sapphires. These are precious stones. And red jewel hung from its vest, and on the vest, the belt, he had put up a dagger in which the red stone could be a ruby or a garnet. It was hanging from his vest. Everyone thought it was beautiful. Yes, जो भी वहाँ से गुजरता है उस देखकर तारीफ करता, admire, they say it was beautiful. Sometimes what would happen, even the mothers, if they would see their children crying, they would say, why can't you be happy like Happy Prince? So why aren't you like the Happy Prince? The mother said to the little boys when they cry. And a sad man. At times the sad man would look at the statue and said, I am glad that someone in the world is happy. वो हैप्पी प्रिंस को देख के क्या करे, चलो मुझे तसल्ली है दैट कोई एक तो खुश है, हैप्पी है. Now, children, the real story starts here. So, I will read a little and explain. I will read both in English. I will read in English, explain you both in English and Hindi, right? So that you can. It's a beautiful story, children. One night, a little swallow flew over the city. His friends had gone away, but he stayed behind for 6 weeks. Now, एक जो swallow, there was one bird called swallow. He's a migratory bird. He was flying all alone in the city, alone over the city. उसके जो फ्रेंड्स थे, साथीदार थे, they had all gone away because यहाँ पे जो ये सिटी में ठंडी धीरे धीरे बढ़ रही थी. But this swallow stayed behind for 6 weeks. और उसको यहाँ पे 6 weeks रुकना पड़ा. वो अपने फ्रेंड्स से बहुत पीछे रह गया. Now रात हो गई, ठंडी बढ़ रही थी. Where can I stay tonight? He thought. Then he saw a statue. I will stay there, he thought. It's high up. So there is a plenty of fresh air. ना वो कहता है वेयर कैन आई स्टे, मैं कहाँ रुकूँ रात को. वो सोच ही रहा था. तो उसको क्या दिखा? स्टैच्यू. he decided to stay on the statue. क्यों? बिकॉज उसने कहा कि ये तो बहुत लंबा स्टैच्यू है कॉलम पे, तो अगर मैं यहाँ रुकूंगा तो आई विल हैव प्लेंटी ऑफ फ्रेश एयर. ही लैंडेड बिटवीन द फीट ऑफ द हैप्पी प्रिंस. आ वो हैप्पी प्रिंस के पैरों के बीच में बैठ गया. आई हैव अ गोल्डन बेडरूम. बहुत खुश हो के चलो आज सोने के लिए मुझे सोने का कमरा मिला. He thought, but as he put his head under his wings, a large drop of water fell on him. जैसे ही उसने अपना हेड विंग्स के अंदर डाला सोने के लिए, एक बड़ा सा ड्रॉप ऑफ वाटर fell on his body. He looked up. उसने ऊपर देखा and he said, "That's very strange." He thought, "There is no cloud in the sky, but it is raining." उसने कहा, अरे ये तो बहुत गलत है, स्ट्रेंज है, अजीब है. देर इज नो, ऊपर बिल्कुल क्लाउड्स नहीं है. एंड फ्रॉम वेयर दिस रेन इज कमिंग, बट इट इज रेनिंग. ही वॉज अमेज्ड. देन अनदर ड्रॉप फेल. वापिस एक दूसरा ड्रॉप गिरा. एंड ही वॉज लिटिल वरीड. ही सेड, आई कैन नॉट स्टे ऑन द स्टैच्यू. दैट डज नॉट कीप मी ड्राई. मैं यहाँ नहीं रुक सकता, क्योंकि मैं यहाँ रहूँगा तो ये पूरा मैं गीला हो जाऊँगा. और ऐसे स्टैच्यू में रहने से क्या फ़ायदा जो मुझे सूखा नहीं रख सकता. दैट कैन नॉट कीप मी ड्राई. ही थॉट, आई मस्ट फाइंड सम अदर प्लेस. आई मस्ट फाइंड अनदर प्लेस, कि मुझे कोई और जगह ढूंढनी पड़ेगी. एंड ही डिसाइडेड टू फ्लाई. उसने फ्लाई करने की सोच ली कि चलो बाबा यहाँ से चलते हैं. But as he opened his wings, जैसे उसने अपनी पंख खोले, a third drop fell. एक और पानी का ड्रॉप गिरा. And he looked up. उसने ऊपर बराबर ध्यान से देखा. What did he see? The eyes of a happy prince was full with tears. Happy prince की आंखों में क्या था? आंसू. The tears rolled down his golden face. उसके आंखों के आंसू उसके चीक्स पे आ रहे थे. द फेस वॉज वेरी ब्यूटिफुल इन मूनलाइट. हैप्पी प्रिंस का जो फेस था चांदनी रात में बहुत चमक रहा था, मूनलाइट में. एंड द स्वेलो फेल सॉरी फॉर हिम. और स्वेलो को बहुत दुख हुआ उस ये देखकर. नाउ चिल्ड्रन, द कॉन्वर्जेशन. दिस इज वेयर द कॉन्वर्जेशन बिटवीन अ हैप्पी प्रिंस and the swallow starts. See, Happy Prince is a statue. He cannot talk, but he is given a quality of talking. Swallow is a bird. He cannot talk, but he is given a quality of talking and like a humans. So definitely it's a fable, but it is giving us a moral lesson. Now there is a talk. Let's see what they are talking, children. Who are you? Asked the bird. I am Happy Prince. Then why are you crying? कि तू हैप्पी है तो क्यों रो रहा है? I am wet with your tears. What is the bird telling? कि मैं तेरी वजह से पूरा गीला हो गया हूँ. When I was alive, said Prince, I had a heart like every other man. Now the prince is telling कि जब मैं जिंदा था मेरे पास दूसरों की तरह धड़कता हुआ दिल भी था. But I did not know what tears were. मुझे मालूम नहीं tears किसे कहते हैं. I lived in a palace where there was no sadness. मैं राजमहल में रहता था, पैलेस में. मुझे मालूम ही नहीं sadness क्या है. In daytime, I played with my friends in a beautiful garden. And in the evening, I danced. There was high walls around the garden. Means मेरे garden जो था, it was covered with walls. I did not know what lay on the other side. Just because my garden was covered with walls, कि दीवार की दूसरी तरफ क्या था मुझे मालूम ही नहीं. So I was called हैप्पी प्रिंस. इसीलिए मैं हमेशा खुश रहता था, तो लोग मुझे क्या नाम से बुलाते थे? हैप्पी प्रिंस. आई वॉज प्लीज विथ माई लिटिल वर्ल्ड. ही सेड कि मैं बहुत खुश था अपनी छोटी सी दुनिया में. नाउ आई एम डेड एंड दे हैव पुट मी हियर. ही इज टेलिंग अभी मैं मर गया हूँ एंड मेरा जो है स्टैच्यू बनाकर मेरे पेरेंट्स ने यहाँ पे मेरी याद में खड़ा कर दिया है. एंड वो भी बहुत ऊपर. सो ऊपर से मैं पूरी मेरी सिटी को देख सकता हूँ. आई कैन सी ऑल द अनहैप्पीनेस इन द सिटी. और मेरी सिटी को देख सकता हूँ, उसमें जो लोग अनहैप्पी हैं. आई कैन सी ऑल दिस. माई हार्ट इज नाउ मेड अप ऑफ चीप मेटल. ही सेज कि मेरा जो दिल है चीप मेटल का बना है. बट दैट पुअर हार्ट कैन फील, कि उसको भी फीलिंग्स हैं, वो भी महसूस कर सकता है दर्द. And so I cry. That is, so I cry means because that is why I am crying. Who said? Prince. Now the swallow is thinking. Oh, said the swallow. Slow अपने आप से कहता है okay. Now the swallow is thinking कि ये happy prince, he is not only gold from outside, means इसका मतलब वो बाहर से ही सोने का नहीं है, अंदर से भी सोने का है. बिकॉज ही हैज अ फीलिंग फॉर द पीपल हु आर अनहैप्पी इन हिज सिटी. नाउ हैप्पी प्रिंस इज टेलिंग, far away from here, said happy prince in a low voice, there is a poor house in a little street. Through an open window I can see a woman at a table. कि यहाँ से बहुत दूर एक घर है जहाँ एक औरत है जो बहुत पुअर है, और वो छोटी सी गली में उसका घर है. एंड उसके ओपन विंडो से मैं देख रहा हूँ कि शी इज़ वर्किंग ऑन समथिंग, दैट इज एट अ टेबल. हर फेस इज थिन. उसका मुंह जो है बहुत थिन है. हर हैंड्स दैट इज आर रफ एंड रेड. उसके हाथ कैसे हैं? रफ और रेड हुए. And you know, children, what she was? She was a seamstress. Seamstress means a lady tailor. She is making dress for one of the queen's ladies for a dance in the palace. Means कुछ ही दिनों में डांस का फंक्शन होने वाला है पैलेस में. तो वहाँ की जो रानी की जो सहेलियाँ हैं उसके लिए वो क्या कर रही हैं? ड्रेस बना रही है. हर लिटिल बॉय, उसका एक बेटा है. हर लिटिल बॉय इज लाइंग ऑन अ बेड. उसका बेटा जो है बिस्तर पे है. इन अ कॉर्नर ऑफ अ रूम. ही इज़ वेरी इल. वो बहुत बीमार है. ही इज क्राइंग बिकॉज शी कैन ओनली गिव हिम वाटर. एंड दिस चाइल्ड इज क्राइंग बिकॉज शी हैज़ नो मनी चिल्ड्रन. सो ही इज क्राइंग and she has no money, so she can only feed the child with water from the river. Little bird, will you take my red jewel to her? वो कहता है कि little bird, can you take that red jewel which is in my vest to her? I cannot move from here. What is the prince telling? कि मैं तो यहाँ से हिल नहीं सकता because I am fixed on the column. My friends are waiting for me in Egypt, said the swallow. Swallow क्या कहता है कि मेरे friends मेरा इजिप्ट में इंतज़ार कर रहे हैं. Little, now the swallow is prince is requesting swallow. Little bird, said the prince, please stay. कि तू यहाँ रुक जा. The boy is crying and his mother is unhappy. The happy prince look very sad. और लिटिल प्रिंस को भी बहुत दुख हुआ. कि वो बच्चा रो रहा है, उसकी माँ बहुत दुखी है। दुखी क्यों है? कि उसके पास पैसे नहीं है बच्चे को खाना खिलाने के लिए। एंड द लिटिल स्वॉलो वॉज ऑल्सो सॉरी फॉर हिम, उसको भी बहुत दर्द हुआ, दुख हुआ स्वॉलो को। इट्स वेरी कोल्ड हियर, ही सेड, कि यहाँ पे अभी बहुत ठंडी पड़ रही है। बट आई विल स्टे विथ यू फॉर वन नाइट, वो कहता है कि मैं तेरे लिए एक रात यहाँ पे रुकूंगा। टुमारो आई विल टेक द ज्वेल, ओके, मैं कल अर्ली मॉर्निंग ये ज्वेल लेकर चल देकर आऊँगा उसको। थैंक यू लिटिल बर्ड, said the prince. So the swallow took the great red jewel from the prince's vest. सुबह होते ही वो अर्ली मॉर्निंग निकल गया ज्वेल लेके, and flew away with over roofs of the town. He passed the palace. He heard the sound of dancing. अभी उसके मुंह में क्या है? रेड ज्वेल, और वो बहुत सारे ऊपर उड़ता गया, उड़ता। He kept on flying. He flew over the roofs. He flew over the palace. And when he reached the palace, he saw that people were merry making. खुशी से नाच रहे थे, डा डांस कर रहे थे, म्यूजिक प्ले हो रहा था। The bird passed over the river also and flew and flew. At last he came to the poor little house. आखिर में वो लेडी के घर के पास आया। And looked inside. उसने अंदर क्या देखता है? कि the boy was lying on the bed. The mother was asleep. उसकी मम्मी भी सो गई है, बेटा क्या है? बिस्तर पर ऐसे ही पड़ा है। She was so tired. वो बहुत थक गई थी। He flew in and put a great red jewel on the table. उसने अंदर जाकर वो जो रेड ज्वेल उसके बीक में था, उसकी चोंच बीक में, उसने वो टेबल पे रख दिया। Then he flew round the bed. अभी जो उसका बच्चा था उसके आसपास वो फ्लाई करने लगा, फ्लैपिंग हिज विंग्स। तो फ्लैप करने से क्या होता है? हवा थोड़ी आती है ना। Oh, said the boy, my face does not feel so hot. क्या भी मुझे जरा भी गर्म नहीं लग रहा है। I think I'm getting better. And he fell asleep. वो सो गया आराम से। Then the swallow flew back to the happy prince. वापस वो happy prince के पास आया। And he said that it's strange. The swallow said that it's strange. It's very cold. बट आई फील क्वाइट वार्म, बहुत ठंडी है लेकिन मुझे थोड़ी गर्मी लग रही है। दैट इज बिकॉज यू हैव डन अ गुड थिंग, सेड द प्रिंस, कि तूने एक अच्छा काम किया है। द लिटिल स्वेलो फेल asleep, और वो स्वेलो सो गया। नाउ व्हेन अ डे केम, जब अर्ली मॉर्निंग सुबह हुई, ये तो बहुत अर्ली था। अभी जैसे ही सूरज निकला, द स्वेलो फ्लू डाउन टू द रिवर फॉर अ बाथ, वो नहाने के लिए गया। अ क्लेवर मैन सो, एक बहुत होशियार आदमी था, उसने स्वॉलो को देखा। दैट इज़ वेरी अनयूजुअल, कि ये कुछ अजीब है। ही सेड, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ अ बर्ड, ये कैसा बर्ड है ईयर इन विंटर, क्योंकि नॉर्मली विंटर में बर्ड्स कोल्ड रीजन में रहते ही नहीं है, दे गो टू द वार्मर प्लेस। आई मस्ट राइट दैट डाउन, कि मुझे ये लिखना पड़ेगा अपनी बुक में। एंड वॉट इज स्वॉलो थिंकिंग? आई विल गो टू इजिप्ट टू नाइट, थॉट स्वॉलो। स्वॉलो तो अपनी धुन में ही है, वो सोच कल मैं इजिप्ट चला जाऊंगा। When the moon came up, he flew back to Happy Prince. जब रात होने को आई, पूरा दिन घूमता रहा। जब रात होने को आई तो उसने हैप्पी प्रिंस के पास आया। कैन आई डू एनीथिंग फॉर यू इन इजिप्ट? ही सेज, कैन आई डू एनी, मतलब मैं अभी इजिप्ट जाऊंगा तो कैन, डू यू वांट मी टू डू एनीथिंग फॉर यू इन इजिप्ट? तो कुछ चाहता है कि मैं कुछ करूँ इजिप्ट में तेरे लिए? ही सेड, लिटिल बर्ड सेड द प्रिंस। प्रिंस ने क्या कहा? लिटिल बर्ड प्लीज विल यू स्टे विथ मी फॉर वन मोर नाइट? ये तो आज की रात भी रुक जाएगा? My friends are waiting for me, answered the bird. swallow ने क्या कहा कि my friends are waiting for me, मेरा इंतज़ार कर रहे हैं. Far away across the city, said the prince, I can see a young writer. He says that कहीं पे दूर, very far away in the city, I can see a young writer in a little room at the top of the house. What is that little room at the top of a house called, children? Attic. Yes, you remember that. He is sitting at the table. That is covered with paper. He is a writer. He is sitting in a small room, and the entire table is covered with paper. At his side, on one side, there are flowers which are dead. He is trying to finish his story. He is a writer, so he is writing stories. He wants to finish, but he is very cold and he cannot write. Just because it is very cold, he is feeling little weak and he cannot write. As there is no fire in the room which would keep him warm, जिससे उसको गर्मी लगे, and which would keep him more. And he is weak and hungry also. That means उसके पास भी पैसे नहीं है खाना खरीदने के लिए, and he is बहुत दुबला पतला है और उसको भूख भी लगी है. Children, today we finish up till here, and let's do with a margin question on the pages 46 and 47. I have not given you the questions of 48, that will be continued in the next. Why did the people admire the statue? The people admired the statue as it was very beautiful and it seemed to be very happy. What were the drops that fell on the swallow? The drop that fell on the swallow were the tears of the happy prince. When did happy prince realize about his suffering? The happy prince realized about his suffering only after his death, when he was placed high above the city as a statue. From there, he could see all the unhappiness. What was the first gift from the happy prince? The first gift from the happy prince was a great red jewel from his vest. Why was the mother forced to ignore her ailing? Ailing means sick son. The mother was forced to ignore her ailing son as she was making dress for one of the queen's ladies for a dance in the palace. She did not have any money to give her son anything. Why had the swallow felt warm? The swallow felt warm, though it was very cold, because he had done a good deed. Now, children, this question answers you are going to write in your notebook. I hope you all understood what we did today. And I will see you in the next lecture. Thank you, children, for being with me. Love you all, children.